Hello, Drunkduckers. This is Ozone Ocean, and with me... Oh, we didn't do the silent part. Fuck, okay. Hello, this is Ozone Ocean, and welcome to the Drunkduck Quackcast. I have with me Tanserine and Baines. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Oh god, that sounded very kinky, Baines. Hello.
That's not kinky. That's a girl boss something. I don't know. It's not kinky though.
Okay, I'll have to be more kinky. Well, hello. How you doing, Baines?
That's more like it.
Yeah. Wait, did you say kinky or creepy? Either way.
How you feeling tonight, Baines? Are you
Disturbed.
hot?
Disturbed. Uncomfortable.
We all.
We should do a whole Quackcast doing the whole Frankenfurter sort of kinkiness. That would be cool. Us all trying out, but we're not doing that. We'll tell you about what's going to happen after the theme music. Now we're back. So on this particular Quackcast, it's called Pick a Side. Pick a side, pick a side, pick a side. Wow, pretty cool title. We come up with this in our little Patreon video beforehand. So when we say pick a side, what we're focusing on is the idea of world building when there's a conflict, basically. So when you've got some sort of war situation and the world building and how the world works, basically. And I think Pick a Side is a great title for it. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. But before we get into that, we have to bring up the featured comic. Oh my god, I'm hearing myself somewhere. Weird. So the featured comic was Captain Tempest. Captain Tempest! Which is a really cool looking comic. I've been waiting to feature it for ages. But it didn't have enough pages, and now it does. Just enough. And I was able to feature it, like on the 31st of December, something around that. Like the last day of the year, which is so cool. So, I'm going to tell you about Captain Tempest now. Hello, I'm Ozone Ocean, and my feature for the week was Captain Tempest. Intrepid reporter Pam Pike and brave mechanic Magoya in a high-energy pulp action adventure. Can Magoya escape Jolly Jack's murderous gang of thugs? Can Captain Tempest and Pam Pike get to him in time and get the plane back from the vicious gang so they can fly on an urgent mission to Tangiers? Read the comic to find out. The art here is deliciously black and white retro, and so is the story style. If you like Indiana Jones, Phantom, or Captain America First Avenger, this is for you. This is classic boys' own pulp fiction or pulp comic stylings. Even early Tintin or Modesty Blaze, all these kind of classic, or Corto Maltese, that's another one, these kind of classic pulp era stories of the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, that kind of daring do action styling. It's awesome. So read Captain Tempest by the author, who is also Captain Tempest, rated T for T. That was Captain Tempest, which is a really cool comic, which I would have just told you about. Okay, so now Gunwallace hasn't given us a theme, because, oh my god, the poor guy, he's given us thousands of themes, so I'm going to pick another best of that I really love. So the best of that I picked this week was Busty Solar, a heavenly, pink, cloudy future world of strawberry-scented mists, dancing, sparkling lights, and golden rays of pure morning sunshine angling through. This is Gunwallace's very electronic, or chorusy, heavy kind of heavenly theme to Busty Solar, which is also a comic by Prototype, and it's rated A, so be careful. Anyway, have a listen to This seen Busty Solo. Originally aired on the 7th of September 2015. That was the theme. I hope you enjoyed that. Always good to play those again because, they only get played once or twice on this entire Quackcast. So it's cool to be able to have another chance to listen to them. So now we're going to talk about Pick a Side. Pick a Side, Pick a Side. Now we're not talking about sporting things. We're talking about real conflicts. Genuine. But I want to even talk about... would this encompass personal conflict? I don't think so. I think that's another... that's a really kind of lesser thing, because there's all different levels of conflict. You could have a personal conflict with, two animals or two people or whatever. It could be within a family, family feuds, or within a town, towns pitted against each other, or a small situation like a battle. These 100 people have to defend this castle against these, 300 people or whatever. Or it could be what I'm thinking of is more nation conflict.
Well, it could be a combination of both. You talked about Pick a Side, and I think of the classic Casablanca. Where it's kind of all about there's so much going on. It's war. It's heavy stuff, and it kind of comes down on Rick finally choosing where he's going to stand, or changing where he's going to stand.
That's a good one, Baines. That's really clever. Casablanca is exactly that sort of thing, isn't it? The guy has to actually pick a side, and he doesn't know where he's going to go. But yeah, okay. So if you haven't seen Casablanca, it's a story about this. It's kind of a black market dealer who is kind of just washed up in Casablanca, which is a city in Morocco, and he's just stuck there. And World War II is just starting to happen, pretty much. And the France has fallen, Nazis have overtaken it, and France controls Morocco, controls Algeria, controls North Africa, and basically Vichy France is basically having, which is the new kind of leadership there. And the French administration in Morocco are changing over to openly supporting the Nazis sort of thing, but some of them are not happy about it, but they want to stay alive and they want to keep their position and their jobs, so they have to sort of pick a side. And so, things are getting hot for the people who are for nationalities that are against Germany, pretty much. And I don't know if the Americans are in the war at that stage yet. I'm not sure.
I don't remember what year it's set. Yeah, it's been a while.
I think it's pretty early in World War II.
Yeah, so they're probably not involved yet.
So Sam Spade he has a very precarious position, doesn't he? Is it Sam Spade?
It's Rick. I don't remember his last name. Yeah.
Okay, Sam is the freaking piano player. But all right. So actually, so Rick is in a precarious position, and there's a lot of black market dealings going on there. There's all kinds of people who are on all different levels of which side is right or wrong, and you've got these refugees coming through, using the country as a kind of a waypoint. They have to go through Morocco in order to escape to countries where they were going to be safe in. So it's a really kind of scary situation. Like the world is just turned upside down. And he is in the middle of this because he is helping to facilitate people's way through. Basically, if they pay him enough money, he can help them. But he can't really be open about that. He has to be very secret about that, or something can happen to him. And he runs like a popular nightclub, doesn't he? Where deals take place, not necessarily his own deals. There are deals from other people that take place, and he kind of he can take advantage of that, which he does because he gets this free pass from this very sneaky guy played by Peter Lorre, I think, from memory.
Yeah, that seems right. I think you know this movie a lot better than I do. So
I watched it like a year ago or something. So.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a really interesting film, but his loyalties are turned in the end because there's a very attractive woman, of course, that needs to get out of the country, but he knew her, and she really wants his help. Sorry, go on.
A Lost Love. I just
go ahead. A Lost Love. Excellent. Yeah. So he had a fling with her when he was in France, I think. And now he's in they've just happened to re-meet again, and she needs his help, and she's sort of playing on this fact that they used to have a relationship, but now she has a husband now, and it turns out I think she was in a relationship with that guy even when she was in a relationship with him, so she was being a bit naughty, but now she
some question about that.
Okay, so Rick wants to stay neutral. His survival depends on him staying as neutral as possible. Like, he has absolute, Nazis coming in to his club, and like they commit. Would you say they committed atrocity? I mean, someone gets killed pretty early on in that by them, so it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And he stays neutral. Like, I think he has like sort of token fight back, but not like he's really just asserting his neutrality. Really, he's not saying, "Look, for you, I accept this." He's like saying, "Yeah, that's no good," but he's not actually fighting against them. But the whole thing with this girl forces him to pick sides, and I mean, it's no spoiler. Basically, he helps her get out of Casablanca, and he. Even when the Nazis are like at the airport, and I think like he kills the Nazi there. I'm not sure, something happens.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil it.
What, an 80-year-old film?
Yeah, and a classic. But yeah, so he survives.
Yeah,
and he does take a side in the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of a more noble side, and he also has and on the personal side, he has the self-sacrifice of giving up this love of his life.
Exactly, which
she goes, and he becomes a better. He picks a side and becomes a better version of himself. That's the promise at the end of it.
Exactly, because he hadn't been a good version of himself. He'd sort of just, like, he had ended up in Casablanca in Morocco because of this heartbreak of the situation with this woman. Like, she was the love of his life. So after that he was drifting, and he kind of just washed up here. Like, a lot of these people in Casablanca had washed up there as well. So it was like, Sargasso Sea sort of thing, or, where everyone just sort of ends up at, like, in the end of the world, and that's where he was. And now, suddenly, he has been, like, he's confronted with that lost love, but instead of making things worse for him, or, him trying to get her back, he uses it positively, so it's really nice. Yeah, that's a great idea of using a whole conflict, making a world building thing, and having it pick a side. Good one, Baines. I love it.
It is good.
Good one. I mean, we could go on like forever about movies like this. You know, like there's The Third Man with Orson Welles. That again is like takes another tack on that. Whereas Orson Welles does not play someone who ends up as a good guy. He's the opposite. He ends up as a worse guy. Which is pretty cool.
I haven't seen it. Want to.
That's about the end of the Second World War. When I think they're in Austria, they're in Germany, something like that. They're in a place that's been split up between the Allies, and Orson Welles' character is a black market dealer. He's an American, and he's dealing with all kinds of nasty stuff with all sides, but mainly for himself. He's a very evil man. So yeah, it's dealing with that chaos at the end of the Second World War, where the main conflict is between the Soviets and the Americans. So yeah, that's a complicated thing, that one. But okay, so world building for us. How do we approach world building and conflicts? In Pinky TA is built around conflicts. Like there are always wars happening, not necessarily hot wars as in current like conflicts, but because the world is like on a very kind of active kind of war situation with a lot of countries being in open competition with each other, that's always like about to happen. And the comic kind of spans like decades. It's like when you're introduced to the comic, they're actually in the middle of an active war. But they're on the fringes of it, and they're kind of, transporting Pinky to do some kind of sneaky kind of invasion somewhere. But in other parts of the comic, like in other chapters, we're kind of at different points in Pinky's timeline and Pinky's life. So we go all the way back to when she was first training in North Africa, and a mission in North Africa. And then in another comic, we go into when she was just sort of in charge of the Tromper development, which is like this mecha, when she was in charge of that, and they get invaded by some group who tries to steal the Trompers and stuff like that. So, and it's never said exactly who the people are, and yeah, basically the comic sort of like hits all different kind of timelines, but there's always some kind of war kind of action happening because of the this world being in conflict, and Pinky being a member of the fictitious Crimean Empire, which is kind of like an empire made of like a Russian cultural kind of people based in Crimea, but also there would be Ukrainian cultural people, and there's sort of Asian people are more kind of like Eastern Asian are part of Crimean Empire, and North African as well. So it kind of encompasses things within that span, and they're against, they're in conflict with like America, Britain, Italy, France, these kind of nations. So I get to pick whatever I want to be the enemies. But the whole comic is based on the idea of war is not a good thing, and you kind of like caught up in a war if you're a member of a country or whatever that is in open conflict, or even like in secret conflict with other people. You're caught up in there no matter what. But it sort of questions the ideas of things like patriotism and being right for the wrong reasons, being wrong for the right reasons, and means justify the ends, ends justify the means, all that kind of stuff Pinky TA kind of encompasses. Not always directly in a direct fashion, but in a kind of indirect way. I'm trying to show, one of the main things I try and show in Pinky TA is the sexiness of war. Oh my god, these mecha are really cool. And, we've got her sexy outfit, as in, like in anime, how the girls always look super, like, sexy and cute or whatever, even though they're, being incredibly violent and stuff like that. So I've got that, but I've also got, like, the nastiness of the war as well. So you're kind of sucked in by the sexiness, and then I kind of, like, show you the negative sides. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I'm doing it. Anyway, that was
That is
my.
amazing.
Oh, sorry, Ben's gone.
I was just going to say that's amazing, and I love how that all comes together. I mean, you're focused on Pinky. I mean, you meaning like me as a reader. You're focused on Pinky. You're focused on what she's up to generally. But man, there's all this complex detail going on in the background, and I love that. I love the way it jumps around
Oh,
in
thank you.
her life, her timeline. It's really awesome.
Oh, thank you. Well,
And I can't wait for this new one.
yeah, I
A
won't
different
spoil it.
era. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it's going to be like. I'm not sure at what time that should be. It should be like in the 40s, I think. Like the early 40s, I'm thinking it should be. Because a lot of Pinky Tail was in like the 20s. And yeah, so no spoilers. We're sort of more into the 40s. Okay. Anyway, that's me talking about my things. So yeah, maybe we should go to Bane's Tance, who wants to sort of.
I'll just be brief. Mine is usually more personal, more sitcomish. Is how I do stuff. Any larger world events are far away generally. The exception is Kaiju Valentine, where you have the world of the humans, the world of the giants, and it's still kind of in the background. We're mostly dealing with a regular sized guy and his giant girlfriend, um, which is just a silly idea. I thought would be fun visually. That was the main thing. But you do have world events, not hard, like not big decisions being faced by the main characters so far. Maybe that'll come into play. Um, but there's a relationship. It seemingly has been building or is being built between the small people and the large people who live in different realms. So there's kind of efforts to kind of come together, and I guess these efforts maybe have been going on for years here and there.
Yeah.
So it's
Weird.
there. It's kind of on the fringes, but sometimes you can see more.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it's really fun to do. I mean, I like the personal dynamics, but I mean, playing it against this bigger storyline a little bit is really challenging and fun.
Well, when that was first hinted at, when it was first hinted at, I suppose, was the fact that there were freaking spaceship kind of like fighter jets in the sky. And it's like, well,
yeah.
Okay, this is no longer just people here. This is like there's something much, much weirder going on here, much bigger. And then we had actual representatives of these different countries that introduced themselves to Max, and it was like,
right.
Oh, we're stepping into a much bigger world here.
It's kind of, and I don't know how well it comes across. I love that you like it. It really makes me happy. But that was when I decided to do the flashback of how they met. I just kind of started the comic initially, just like they're already together. She's a giant woman living here for some reason, and they met somehow, and they have a romance. So when and I think I had a joke at some point about she was seen on the news, sort of swatting at planes or something like that, like King Kong. So it was like, eventually I wanted to do the flashback of how they met. So it's like, okay, it would have to be something extraordinary has to happen. There has to be a thing with these planes or whatever. And and then it seems like, okay, well, there would have to be officials. I need them for exposition. I need there would be. It's not just chaos. Like she has a gigantic apartment she lives in. How'd that come to be? And just all these things that you have to try to somewhat answer some of these questions, or I felt I did anyway. So
exactly.
And then we went to Giantland, and now we're just there. So
Oh my god, yeah, well, we're on the way on a giant, well, not a giant, but, well, it is a giant, my god. 1970s style hovercraft at the moment, going to the lake house.
Right.
That's
Yes,
where we're
now
off.
we're at the lake house working on that.
Oh dear, so yeah. So conflict doesn't always have to be something that's direct. Like when you're doing world building, it's you just have that as an implicit kind of thing. It doesn't have to be explicit, basically.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's not, it doesn't appear in the comic. I think if it kind of makes sense to you, the writer, sort of figure out
Yeah.
okay, what's going on in the bigger picture kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm pleased that it's actually tackled that in a very kind of subtle way.
Yeah, I'm glad it's there too. It seems like, I mean, it's like I said, it's kind of by necessity. It's like, okay, some answers have to be there.
Yeah.
There has to be some kind of context or something. So that's
Exactly. Because especially if you're going, like, you wouldn't ever have to do it if you didn't venture outside. And, outside of this little couple between, Max and Minnie. But because we have gone outside, because he's gone and crossed over, then you do have to tackle it now.
yeah. It's like, well,
And
what is she
even,
doing? Go ahead, Tim.
I was just going to say that even if we stay within the couple, eventually the world does seep inside, uh,
Yeah.
unless they are on a abandoned island or something.
Right.
You will still need to have them talk about something other than each other at some point. So
For
it will
sure.
be there.
Yeah. It has to be. Yeah, exactly. So.
And it definitely has to be now because he's actually crossed over into the world of the giants and and talked to Minnie's superiors.
Yeah.
And her family.
Which, as it turns out, is much easier to do visually. Like, okay, now we just have one little guy. I'm not figuring out on every page, okay, where is everybody standing? How is this all working? Like, where is this giant woman going to be sitting or standing? So it's like figuring that out was a little stressful. So I love being in the giant world with one little guy. And, I had to invent flying machines to give him so he wasn't always, in somebody's pocket.
You could have totally done that, though. I mean, oh my god, Alina would have loved to have been his, like a carry person.
Yes, well, sometimes he will be, yeah. But yeah, the politics of it anyway, I'll figure out more as we go forward, and maybe there will be some kind of conflict as far as you have to pick a side or something like that. There have been hints that there are sort of opposing forces because we saw the planes, the attacking planes and stuff. So it's kind of like, what was that all about?
Yeah,
So
and
we might have to deal with some of that. Yeah.
I mean, in your kind of genre, the way you kind of write, it would be like, okay, so we've met all the good people, like Doctor Adventure, and then someone comes in and says, "Oh, I'm actually in charge here, and this is what I want to do, and I want to cut your funding because."
Right.
You're dealing with something that you don't understand, and we're not sure about these people, and all that kind of thing. Like government interference. That would be the kind of the way that kind of story would generally go.
Right.
I'm thinking of classic American movies and things like that on that kind of thing. So, yeah. What about you, Tance? You tackle interesting stuff in Verdant, like in a very explicit, direct way. Now, when I say explicit, I do not mean pornographic. I mean, what? I mean, explicit. The real meaning of explicit means you're talking about something openly. That's what it means. It means you're tackling something openly. And in this regard, we're talking about war and politics. There is no...
Sorry, no, there is a bit of a... Everyone is getting fed at this point, so there may be some background noise happening.
Oh my god.
So I apologize.
There is pornography. No, there's not pornography. There's a character, there's a ghoulish kind of like a demonic creature, and you can see all the way through them. Oh my god, they're totally naked. But when I say naked, you can see through their skin into their bones.
Oh my god, yes. For a moment, I thought you were talking about the witch that is wearing the see-through gown.
Oh yeah, there's that.
But yeah, the other guy is going like the full Monty, I guess.
No see-through clothes, just see-through skin.
See-through skin, like what's sexier than see the bone? Anyway, I'll stop there. The whole...
Oh my god!
The whole thing...
Oh my god! Oh dear.
I can be naughty if I want to. What I'm tackling in Verdant is again picking sides, and honestly, at this point we have a super okay, sorry about that. We have a super polarized is the word I'm looking for. Polarized world where everyone has already picked a side. They have already picked sides. And now the whole thing is, can you unpick sides? That's the eventual question of all these things. Can you actually not pick a side in order to pick not the side per se, but in order to completely change the approach to the problem that has forced the sides to exist, if that makes sense?
Yep.
So that's going to be Bernard, and we are going to have some main characters that are going to be attempting that, and others that will be actively working against that, trying to preserve the status quo. And I also wanted to do, well, I was inspired. I'm going to say that I have a good few inspirations in making Verdant. A whole thing is, of course, the general religious war element and the schism between Orthodox and Catholics. That's the premise and the feel of the what is going on. But on the other hand, I also liked the whole. We are fighting while a bigger threat exists and is encroaching and gaining ground because nobody is paying attention to it, or attributes it to the other side, whereas neither is the culprit for this extra threat. So this is going to be the starting point of all our characters. Like, this is where they're at. They have some differences in dogma. They are basically the same religion with differences in dogma. We know how vitriolic that can be. And they attribute the actual big bad to the other side. The other guys are doing it. Yeah. So, the devils, the spawn of the devil, the guy with the bone, supposedly is a creature of the other side, whatever the other side. Like, if you are a witch, it is from the despot state. If you are from the despot state, it's from the witches, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And a big issue is going to be, do I follow my side blindly, or do I actually want to solve the problem? So this is going to be the question every character is going to have to answer.
Oh,
And
great.
yeah, I hope I pull it off. And I'm taking all this time, showing the intensity of the battles and the battle and all of that to show that it's not going to be that easy when you have sunk cost fallacy basically working in the whole thing. Like you have lost loved ones. You grew up in a culture where they are the devils and everything bad that happens to us is because of them, that sort of thing. Can you look past that, and what will it take to do that? So yeah, that's going to be Verdant. But I just wanted to add, like real quick, that picking a side is a theme for a character in Without Moonlight, and that is Arthur, because he starts off from one side and he ends up in the other, supposedly.
Which actually
At
happens
least.
Yeah.
in real World War II. Yeah, on both sides, on all sides. Yeah, because there were more than two sides in World War II. But yeah, it was tricky.
Yeah.
That's a good illustration of it. Yeah, I mean, speaking of picking sides, like we sort of came to this in our Patreon video, the idea of like okay, so in reality, in the world of reality where we all exist, you generally have to pick sides in conflicts and see the world in a black and white fashion, even though like the reality of things, like the real reality of conflicts, is grey. Like and you don't exactly fit with either side, but one side you fit with more than the other. But you really have to face the fact that you can't be grey often. You have to actually pick a side in order to survive, or for your family to survive, and for things, to keep your community going and stuff like that. You have to pick a side for that, even though you don't think in a black and white way. You think in a kind of grey, complicated way, but you have to force yourself to act as if things are black and white. And we often think, like in fiction, we pretend that everything is black and white, and we pretend that these people are bad and these people are good, but that's not true. It's in fiction you are more free to be grey, but in reality you're often not free to be grey, because that can mean your death if you do that, or it can mean like something bad happens to your family. Unfortunately, it's a luxury to be in the grey.
Yeah, a great example of this in real life is the book by, if I'm not mistaken, the name of the author is Joachim Fest, or something like that in those veins. And it's called Ich nicht, like not I. And it is the account of his family refusing to become a member of the Nazi party almost throughout the war, and what that did to their family, which basically destroyed their family, and they went through hell while staying, at home without being deployed at all anywhere. At least for most of the duration of Hitler's reign. And what happened towards the end as well, which I highly recommend for people to read it, because, yeah, not picking a side or picking the side of the minority, whatever that might be, might have incredibly devastating repercussions for you or your family. So I'm not saying it shouldn't be done. Sometimes you absolutely have to do it. But you have to understand, and others have to appreciate what it means to not pick a side or pick the wrong side, quote unquote wrong. So yeah.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
like, okay, so there are all kinds of issues with picking a side. So you might say, like, it's personal survival, it's survival for your family. It could be that kind of situation. It could be a moral choice, like, I have to pick a side in order, these are the, like, I don't actually follow everything this side does, but I have to side with them because they are more correct in this situation, like my people, my culture, or what they're doing to these people is really wrong, so I have to pick this side and go along with them in order to be on the right side. So yeah, like, say, look, like, let's see if, real world situation. So in World War II, you had the Axis and the Allies being the two main groups, basically. So you think, okay, so obviously the Allies were the good guys and the Axis were the bad guys. But, like, that's not for everybody who, like, was involved in that situation. So we're looking at, say, Romania or Hungary. So these people were basically just steamrolled by the Nazis. And they had to, like Latvians, people like that, they had to be in the Waffen SS. They didn't have a choice. They had to be part of that war machine. So that was, unfortunate. People in India, so India was part of the British Empire and didn't necessarily want to be part of the British Empire. And they didn't want to necessarily be part of the side of the Allies. And you might say, oh, but the Allies were the good guys, but not to the Indians, because they had been under the heel of the British for like a couple of 100 years. So you could sort of forgive them for prevaricating. Then you had, say, the Republic of Ireland. Ireland had been in open conflict with Britain. They'd only just gained independence, and they did not want to become close allies with Britain in the Second World War, even though they saw, like the Nazis, the Axis were the bad guys. So the Irish didn't want to fight directly against them, so they stayed neutral. They were kind of more culturally affiliated with the Allies, but they weren't officially governmentally like affiliated with them. So there was freaking complexity there, and you had to join sides you didn't necessarily want to be a part of. So the thing of the Battle of the River Plate, where the Graf Spee was sailing on the River Plate in order to get resupplied down in, I don't know, Uruguay or something like that. So Uruguay sort of was kind of neutral, but not, and they had to kind of, sail between these two, the powerful British Empire down here with its massive battleships, but also, like, the Nazi battleship here, and well, yeah, so picking a side is not always a straightforward thing, so it's a very complicated situation. And I'm not saying you should always try and be neutral, or you should always try and pick the best side. It's freaking complicated, and it depends on the situation. And I'm not speaking about cultural, not cultural, like a moral kind of relativism. So it's not that at all. This is realistic relativism. Like, you've got to sort of think about so many different freaking factors depending on the situation. So, because life is complicated. Reality is super freaking complicated. What do you guys think about that? Like,
Well, I mostly agree that you absolutely are a victim of circumstance in a lot of things, and sometimes you also have no choice. Like, if you don't want to be, for example, invaded by someone, you might want to pick the side that says that they will help you not be invaded, for example. And that happened in World War II in certain countries, and it also happens even today. So there's that.
it does.
And I would say, on the other hand, it depends also on how much people can't tolerate and circumstances that give them a chance to not tolerate something. And I was thinking while you were talking about how, yeah, the Nazis conscripted occupied the peoples into their ranks, especially towards the, like as the war started not going very well for them. And there was in Greece this attempt to conscript Greek men. And what happened was the word got out like a like maybe a week before they were going to do the conscription. And there was this massive demonstration that happened in Athens where the records were being kept for everyone that voted and also everyone that was of age to be conscripted. And they basically you had like this sea of people, and there are even photos from like some one or two photos from that demonstration where they basically stormed the records offices at the time and they burnt every single record. They burnt them all. And of course, there were casualties. People died because the Nazis fired into the crowd. But they also didn't get to conscript Greek men. Like Greek men were never conscripted like other people in other countries. So that happened. And the reason this happened was because already there were a lot of small pockets of resistance happening and doing, running all kinds of subterfuge against the Nazis already. So it was extremely easy, quote unquote, right? Nothing is easy, right? But it was more, they had more avenues to be able to organize large crowds of people to do this thing and inspire them into doing this. And another element that is said by analysts that happened in Greece is that the brutality was so intense by the occupiers that the threat of the brutality was not higher if they did the demonstration. It was the same. So it was, they were not going to earn anything by not doing something, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you had like a set of circumstances that made the people prevent themselves from being forced to pick that side, like to wear that uniform. Whereas these circumstances weren't there for other peoples, without that meaning that these peoples were, inferior to Greeks or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's a set of circumstances, like a domino effect, that happens or doesn't happen at any given moment. And you have these small, brilliant moments in history where something happens that usually doesn't. Yeah.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
In other places, they didn't necessarily have the same level of resistance and communication in place. They were totally dominated, so it was way more difficult for that kind of thing to arise. And yeah, it's weird. I was thinking of like when you're talking about like in Greece, so in the Napoleonic world, they had the same kind of situation. When Napoleon was invading all of Europe and just dominating these countries, and then replacing the government and then raising armies out of these countries. And so you'd think like one of the logical ways like it would be like join a resistance, be against him. But you definitely were not always able to do that because, if these people are controlling the town where you live and where your family live, well, it's not that easy to form a resistance thing. They managed it in Spain and Portugal quite well, but not so much in other countries, Italy, places like that. And so I read this story about this a biography of this fellow who he was in Germany, I think in the Hanover States, and Napoleon was getting closer and he was just wiping out, these communities. And this guy was sent off to stay with his uncle. And one day his uncle came home dressed as a hussar, and he said, "Oh my God, that uniform looks amazing. What's happening?" And his uncle said, "Look, Napoleon's getting too close. Like, they're basically across the river. We have to do something. I've joined the local militia here, this hussar under this duke, this lord or whatever, and we're going to be fighting. I'm going to be fighting Napoleon." And the nephew said, "Yep, I want to be part of this too. Like, sign me up." And so they both were, joined this hussar band, and they were fighting the Napoleonic troops. And it didn't matter because Napoleon was already like steamrolling across Germany, and he totally invaded this place where these people lived. And their lord, who was in charge of these hussars, he decided to sell out to the British, basically, because the British were still against Napoleon. But he didn't ask these people who had signed up to be hussars. He said, basically, you're all in the British Army now. And he sold them, basically, as soldier slaves to the British Army. And they didn't have a choice.
Well,
They could try and run, but they would be executed. So these German soldiers became British soldiers. It was called the KGL, basically, the King's German Foreign Legion. And that didn't just have Germans, they had Hungarians and Romanians and all kinds of people from all over that part of Central Europe, and they were forced to fight for the British. And so that was the thing, of picking sides. So they didn't really have much of a choice. They had to fight for the British. And you might think, oh, well, the British were against Napoleon and they were against Napoleon, so it's all good. But no, the reality of this is once they were fighting for the British were against all kinds of people. So they got sent down to fight in the Caribbean against escaped slaves, black people. And they got sent to Uruguay to fight in South America and fight against Argentinians and Uruguayans and things like that. So, so picking a side is like a deal with the devil, basically. And sometimes you just can't control it.
Yeah. Speaking of, like, now that you mentioned that reminded me, like later in towards the end of the civil war in Greece, the anti-communist side, like the royalists slash the Western aligned side, let's say, in the war, in the civil war, basically hitched their ride to the Americans. And what that brought about was a victory for them and a loss for the communist side. But also that happened by being the first country where napalm was used. So we were the testing ground for napalm, and it was devastating, and that's what won the war. With all that entails. And then they used it in Vietnam. But we had the privilege of being the first to be napalmed. So
and then that's ironic because Greeks are attributed of developing the first kind of version of that, named after them, the Greek fire. So that's not ironic in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's no question why this is a very little known fact, because they didn't want to have the Americans bear the anathema or the side that brought them in to do this. So that came out only recently, like more widely known. You had to be otherwise a scholar to know that,
Really?
to have
Wow.
access to these records and know it. So yeah, fun times. It's going to be in the volume 2 of Without Moonlight.
Ah,
Oh. You know what? When you introduce that, you should show the reconstruction of the Byzantine flamethrower in the Army Museum,
Oh
just in the
yeah.
background. It's like as a secret introduction to the idea. So obviously, I don't think that is like a real historical artifact. I think that's like a recreation of one.
Because the truth is that nobody really knows exactly what it was, like the recipe for it, and how it was handled. Um, because it was supposed to be able to basically crawl on sea, on the surface of the sea, and reach the enemy boats. Right? It was that terrifying. So nobody knows exactly what it was made of.
And not affect your own boats. I think that's why they have like this big flamethrower pump. Because the idea is you project it far enough away that it's not going to get you, it's going to get them. So, because it's very hard to stop a ship being burnt to a crisp. Like you think, oh, it's surrounded by water. Of course, it's easy. No, it's not. Historically, it's freaking difficult to stop your ship being burnt.
I mean, in Greek, it's not Greek fire; it is liquid fire. That's the translation for the term we have. And it was literally supposed to be liquid fire, like it crawled on the water, and then if you tried to toss water on it, it just erupted into more flames. So fun times.
When Tant says fun times,
Fun
she
times.
doesn't mean it. She means the opposite. It is a euphemism. Or would that be a
Completely
diphemism
sarcastic.
or a cacophonism? These are good words that you should know.
That was the thesaurus minute by yours.
I'm full of those. Okay. Well, we should wrap up now. Well, this has been our big pick a side Quackcast, the world building and pick a side and all this kind of stuff. Interesting. Okay, number 773.
Which side are you?
Yeah, which side are you on? All right, whichever side you're on, it's not necessarily a good side. It's the side you choose for whatever reason. So that's it. Yeah, that's a weird, real reality of the world. So yeah, you have to pick a side, and it's not always a good side. But you have to pick it. All right. Well, bye, guys. Bye, Baines.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Toms.